LearnBiz LLC is an entrepreneur coach agency which customizes solutions to help businesses grow and thrive in an ever-changing economy.
You are listening to LearnBiz The Podcast, where we share an entrepreneur's journey and allow you to obtain insight into their path to success. We're here to educate other entrepreneurs about the ins and outs of running a small business, and we will provide you with tips and resources that can help you along your entrepreneurial journey.
Music selection, Midnight Silhouette by Devon, Wright.
Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Hi there, Dr. Tasha. How are you?
Oh, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on LearnBiz The Podcast. And we're going to go ahead and kick it off by getting a little bit of information about you. So tell us about who Dr. Tasha is.
Oh, wow. Well, she's pretty dope. I'm just kidding. So my full name is Dr. LaTasha Russell Harris. I am the founder president of Drive-By Therapy LLC. I am a doctor of clinical psychology. I am also the president of the Association of Black Psychologists, but I'm also newly married. I have two wonderful bonus children, 13 and 4. When it comes to my business, Drive-By Therapy, it started 5 years ago, or I guess 6, because we're now into 2022. So 2016. It started 6 years ago, really just out of like a demand of people asking, how can I see you? And I was like, oh, I'm not running. This is all I do. I go to work, which was fine. I didn't mind getting a check every 2 weeks. I don't have a problem working for anybody. I didn't have that until the demand was almost like, well, why not? I can make supplemental income. And then that turned into a full-time business within 5 years. And so I'm sure we'll get more into the details, but that's kind of the Cliff Notes version.
So drive-by therapy. Now, a lot of things come to mind when I see this word drive-by. What inspired you to come up with that name, and how does that impact your business?
Okay. So everything you're thinking, yes, and yes. Whatever it is, a drive-by, obviously, it's a play on words. I moved to Florida from Los Angeles. I worked with a lot of gang-affiliated youth, gang bangers, adults in prison, out of prison, and they would talk to me about how I was such a sharp shooter. And I kind of played on that and said, like, basically, everything I do in terms of a session with me on the phone, over Zoom, or like we're doing now, or in person, but it's just basically, it's going to feel like a drive-by, meaning that I'm going to get to the core of an issue quickly. Now, also, in terms of logistically, I've also made house calls kind of before the pandemic, but I would go into people's homes and have sessions. I always like to say I love talking to people on the couch, especially couples on that same couch that they were arguing on the night before. So I also make drive-bys.
Okay. I like that. So in terms of your business, Dr. Tasha, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to become an entrepreneur.
Oh, man. So it's probably, I don't know if it's, it was like calling me. I actually don't have, some people have the story of they want to make their own money. I don't want to work for folks. Like, I didn't actually have that. I've always been good with money. If whoever signed my paycheck, I did very well. I did well by it. But the idea was like that flexibility of the fact that, like, I actually can make more money. I didn't realize that I was putting myself in a box thinking that I only had to work 9 to 5. I know that sounds so kind of special. But that's kind of what I was thinking, because you were just taught that you go to work, you go to college, get the degree, and you go to work. 9 to 5 is the norm. And basically at the end of the day, I actually started to work 12 to 14 hours a day. That was my norm. Gotcha. Most people thought I was crazy, working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But the truth is, once I started getting international patients, or even domestic folks that are on the West Coast, I have to work till 8 p.m. until my California folks, get off work at 5.
Gotcha.
And so it's kind of these elongated hours, but then I could sometimes take off in the middle of the day if I wanted to. That doesn't usually happen from the 9 to 5. So the flexibility of it all, I would say, inspired me.
And so when you think about your process as you got to this point that you are now, what are some things that resonate with you that you can share with other entrepreneurs who want to go into the same industry?
Oh, well, I have heard lots of coaches, therapists, psychologists ask me, like, basically, how did you build your business? For those in this industry, the mental health world, there's social workers,
Right.
there's life coaches. And the truth is, my answer is always word of mouth. Word of mouth is literally what did it for me. Um,
Wow.
the truth is, when you're effective, someone is going to tell someone else that, I used to not be able to talk to my teenage daughter until I talked to Dr. Tasha. She will help break this whole thing down. She'll possibly get in your own grits. That's what I like to say sometimes. Meaning sometimes, someone will call and say, I want help with my marriage because my husband is the issue. Or, I need you to help my child because they. And I'm like, wait a minute. If I'm going to talk to a teenager, just know I need you to be open to possibly having a dual kind
Right.
of conversation where you're taking accountability for how you've impacted that child. And so it kind of frees up the person who was the problem, and realizes for me that truly the effectiveness is because both parties are taking responsibility. And so
Wow.
I do it very gently. Obviously, my personality is kind of raw. I give people room to be themselves. And so kind of like how I tell everybody all the time, like, in this office, please, let's not act like we're fine. Like, I want you to get permission to not be fine. And so if
Right.
you could imagine, if you could finally like sit back and just for the day, 1 hour a day, and not have to be fine or to show up for somebody else, it starts to become addictive. A lot of people say, I always want to see you. And I'm like, I need you to get better and get out of my office. Okay. Yeah. So
I,
I do have to fire myself often because they just fall in love with this idea of I just need to
yeah,
talk to somebody that is non-judgmental.
right. I mean, you're definitely very personable. I could see why people would be excited about sitting on your couch or having the drive by. Who inspired you? Like, did you have any mentors or folks that really kind of helped you in your process at all?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so this is interesting. Let me first say, I was if you talked to me 15 years ago, I used to be a principal of elementary school. Before that, I was a teacher, fifth grade math teacher, seventh grade Spanish teacher. So I thought, again, I was doing just fine. There was not too many debt, there wasn't too much debt to pay.
Right.
Um, I
Simple life.
Simple life, went to the gym, maybe went to a happy hour. I was fine. You understand? No
Right.
student loans out the wazoo. And so I didn't realize how much I actually loved being a principal because I loved actually talking to the teachers and the students about their real life. I
Gotcha.
was counseling this whole time. So then Katrina hit New Orleans. I'm living in Houston. I then decide to work for FEMA as a contractor. And I realized how much I was able to um, I can't use the word bring peace to a crisis, but I was able to handle a crisis. So a
Gotcha.
crisis didn't actually like, I didn't become kind of like as chaotic as the situation was. And I didn't realize that I was able to manage other people while they were in a crisis, which
Right.
totally is exactly what I do now. And so I realized that I really love working in crisis. From there, I have a best friend. Her name is Keisha, Dr. Keish. She said, and I will remember this. It was like 2006 or 7, and she was like, "I just heard this person on the radio, and they're a psychologist, and it reminded me of you." And I was like, "Huh." Never thought about it at all. I graduated from Spelman. Obviously, psychology was a major. I wanted to speak Spanish and be a doctor, a medical doctor. I wasn't thinking about being a PsyD or a PhD. And so
Right.
when she said it, I started applying to schools. And I was like, I want to get my doctorate in clinical psychology because it's true. I'm really getting paid for my personality, to be honest.
I love it.
There's plenty of training that goes along with this. But the idea of helping people to feel comfortable being themselves, that right there was a God-given gift. And so from there, I then realized that I'm kind of like, I like to say, I'm kind of a mix between Dr. Ruth, anybody that's older than 35,
I
40.
remember Dr. Ruth.
Don't we love her? This
Yes.
older white lady. There was like no topic off limits.
Oh, yes.
Like, that's me. I'm like, what are we going to talk about? Yeah. The vagina's complicated. Absolutely.
Ah,
And let's say
absolutely.
it out loud. And so kind of a mix between like a Dr. Ruth. I've been compared before. Someone told me I'm like a modern day Ayanla. And I think of it as
Yes, I do feel that. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's lovely. The thing is, though, I don't want to be them. I want to be Dr.
Gotcha.
LaTasha. But I love that it's actually a compliment when they're saying you're reminding me of someone that I liked when it came to changing people's lives. So I would say that was kind of how it actually happened in terms of who, a best friend, and then Dr. Ruth, and yeah, just really kind of like sometimes the path is kind of like already kind of set. You just kind of have to be tapped in and see where it pulls you. I always tell people that all the time when it comes to passion, because that money thing, chasing the bag, I can't stand that. I'm just going to tell you. I actually love when the door is open because it's the door I'm supposed to go through. And so a passion really doesn't always have to be what you like. It can actually be what is calling on you to show up. And for me, it was doing this. I always say I love working with prostitutes, addicts, pastors, police, just people that people judge. You know, I just love that because if you knew their real life, you would know exactly why they make the decisions that they make. Or that they stay quiet, you know, to themselves because they don't let anybody in. And so people were drawn to me of these lifestyles. And I'm like, I have never been in the game before, but somehow they could trust these eyes. And that's what penetrated. Yeah.
So, Dr. Tasha, the passion now meets the pandemic. Did it impact your business any, or did it strengthen your business? Like, what was it for you?
So, you know, talking to people with a mask on in person, because I started to do that after the first year.
Yes.
I can't stand it. Okay. Right. Because even there's moments where you might even do something with your mouth, like non-verbally while you're uncomfortable. I now can't see that under the mask because I use a lot of the body language, the non-verbals, to figure out how are you really feeling outside of what you're actually saying. Absolutely. So I missed the whole Zoom, and there's all these different ways to talk with each other, Skype. Like a lot of times it was folks that lived only 30 minutes away from my office, but because for that first hour, I'm talking to them in a square. So I missed being able to have the full body experience to feel each other's energy, obviously, in the room. Yeah. However, you and I know that first, let's see, March was when we need to stay in.
Yeah, like, we were shut down.
By May, when I tell you it was a Monday, I should find out what day it was on my calendar. It was a Monday in May, and 3 couples called me seeking out what I do. And they're like, we need couple sessions because the D word came up, which of course is divorce. And this happened within literally like 6 hours. And you can't make that up. So to me, that was, I tried to make it work for these last 2 months, but I now realize that I don't even like this person. But I didn't know this because I left the house for 8 hours a day. I was hiding behind these kids and maybe that happy hour with my coworkers. And so I really didn't have to deal with my spouse, but for 2 hours a day from 9 p.m. to 11. And half of that is watching TV. And now I have to look at you 24 hours a day. I now have to deal with the fact that I love you, but I don't like you. And so that was the beginning of like couples calling me because the D word was just all in the house. Even if they weren't saying it, they were thinking it. That was one. The other was the whole racial. What word do I want to use? Do I want to say racial pandemic? I'll just say it.
I think that's good.
After Aubrey.
Right.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah.
There are plenty of other ones that happened within the 8 months of us having to watch TV and watch all the seconds of all the trauma of either the killings or even the folks feeling like it literally was like going to happen to them. That's what folks called. They ended up having their own like fear of their own mortality. So that anxiety became a death anxiety of obviously the pandemic of who's going to die from this COVID. And then it's like, who's going to die from these bullets that have, these, kind of the bullets almost had a place for them to go, which had to be with folks that look like you and I. And so that in a good way got to a place where more Black men were seeking out this help, which, it happens, but it didn't happen at this rate by like May, June, July, August.
Right.
And I was loving the fact that, because we're not just dealing with what is happening on TV, we're now having to deal with some unresolved childhood trauma that we never said out loud that this hurt me. So it gave them kind of, I know a man just said this yesterday. He said, when I watched George Floyd, it made me realize that I couldn't breathe. Like I actually couldn't breathe. No, I wasn't on the ground, but that was me. I'm suffocating right now from my real life. So that You get what I mean? So I don't like
Yeah.
that it was ignited by this or this was the catalyst. But the truth is, all these folks should have been in my office a long time ago.
Understood.
Okay? But
Yeah.
then this kind of this pull to desperation. I need help, which I think is the best thing we can ever do for ourselves. Is just let that pride go and ask.
Yes.
We're not all so bad.
Dr. Tasha, you are preaching tonight. I will give you one last question, and I think you're going to knock this right out the park. Okay. Entrepreneurship, when you hear that word, what does that really mean to you?
Oh, 3 words. Do it scared.
I love that. Yes, do it scared.
It's scary. What are you talking about?
Yes.
It's all scary. We don't know what's going to happen, but you can't help but not to do it, because then you're going to be talking about all the regrets you got when you're 75, 85, talking about what you thought about doing when you were 40. It's not a good feeling when you have all these things all these boxes that are not checked off. And so do it scared. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? You're going to fail. And then guess what? Success is the response to failure. I remember when I heard that. So the next thing to go actually is to go up. So just do it scared. I don't want to make it sound simple, but the truth is, once you get in that water, you are going to learn how to swim and ask for help. You know, it's hard. This is hard. But if you really, 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 really feel drawn to whatever it is, the industry that you're in, that will translate to the people. That's the best advice I would ever give to any entrepreneur that's thinking about it or already in it. Like whenever people wonder, like, well, how will people come? Do you believe in it? Because if so, it will translate. That I know. It will always translate if it's genuine.
The doctor has spoken. I'm truly appreciative of you, Dr. Tasha, for coming on LearnBiz The Podcast. Can you tell folks how to reach you?
Oh, of course. I actually do really answer my phone. It's really me. There's no receptionist, no assistant. But you can go on drivebytherapy.org and it will be a contact page that will go straight to my email address. Perfect. I will talk to you within 24 hours, not even 48. I get you in within 24 hours. The truth is, though, once you reach me, you may have to wait about 2 months because I'm always booked about 2 months. But once we meet, we can meet every week until we get better. And of course, any social media is at Dr LaTasha, which is Dr. Tasha, but in Spanish. DLCTORATASHA. And that's me. I look forward to meeting whoever this is that is listening and saying, I really need to call her. Call her.
Look, Dr. Tasha has told you what to do. I'm sure that the phone is going to be ringing. We thank you so much, Dr. Tasha, for coming on LearnBiz The Podcast. And we look forward to doing this again with you soon.
Oh, thank you, Sandy.
Thank you so much.
Music selection, Midnight Silhouette by Devon, Wright.
Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.